Hasbro shares are surging after the company raised its full-year outlook, topping second quarter expectations, with Magic the Gathering once again driving growth. The franchise topped $500 million in quarterly revenue for the first time in its 30-plus-year history. Joining us now is Hasbro CEO Chris Cocks. Chris, wonderful to have you on. Congratulations for this milestone. And I know that this has been a huge part of your growth strategy, and it's paying off with Magic the Gathering. But I do have to start out asking, last time you and I had spoken, one of the other big parts of your growth strategy was your video game division, but you've now announced that you're canceling multiple video game projects. Can you just walk us through the thinking?
Well, I think most video game companies in a given year will have a variety of products in different stages of development, and we're no different. I think what we did is over the last 6 to 9 months, we took a relook at our portfolio and said, okay, what can Hasbro be best in the world at? What can we uniquely do differently than anyone else? And we decided to refocus. And, the decision we made was trading card games and role-playing games were really vital to franchises like Magic the Gathering and D&D. We're doubling down on those. But other categories like strategy games, action, stealth, we work with over 1,000 partners around the world with a very large licensing business. We're the #1 digital licensor in the world, working with nearly 100 partners. We can work with those kinds of partners who are experts in those genres and create a real 1-2 punch. Hasbro being a leader in TCGs and RPGs, and then our partners really helping to extend our brands elsewhere. And that's really kind of what today's messaging was all about.
And sticking with games, how are you using AI when you develop these?
AI is still pretty early days. We use it across the company, mostly for productivity. Our toy division does it for some concepting, but at the end of the day, a human is driving all of the taste decisions and the ultimate execution. Inside of games and video games, I would say AI is basically not used at all. Will that change over time? I think we'll look at what the state of the tools are, where the industry's going, and certainly we will use what makes sense. I think the video game industry has a real history of being an early technology adopter, and we'll take our marks from what the best in the business are doing.
What are you seeing with respect to consumer behavior or demand that's maybe not yet showing up in the data, but that you're planning for?
Well, gosh, I think the biggest thing that we're seeing is this boom in these categories that we call Gem Squared. Those categories that are gamified, entertainment-driven, multi-purchase, and multi-generational. I think other companies maybe call it kidults. That's been a power trend over the last couple years, and we certainly see it taking off moving forward. I think you're seeing that in strength with Magic the Gathering. You're seeing that with growth that we have in Marvel and Star Wars, which is really fan generated. The kid business continues to be good, but fans are really what's being explosive in that. And with new initiatives like we're seeing with traditionally kid products like Play-Doh, with what we're doing with a new product called Blooms, which is an ability for older consumers to create beautiful bouquets of flowers to build and display. I think that build and display dynamic, that play being more than just something for kids, collection being more than something for just nerds like myself, but much broader. I think that's powering the entire play industry right now, and is a power trend that I don't think is going to go away anytime soon.
Can I just say, I think nerds is better than kidult. Like, I would rather be referred to as a nerd than a kidult. I'm just going to put that out there, Chris. Look, when it comes to maybe some of the more like traditional toys, the things that rely on imports, I know this industry has had a lot of volatility, and at the moment, the White House has been relying on Section 122 tariffs that expires this Friday. How are you and the team thinking about that expiration? Are you looking at any hedging options, bracing for anything in particular, especially as you start to lock in holiday shipments?
I think it's been a pretty volatile environment over the last couple of years. Between trade policy, commodities pricing, we've certainly seen that with oil. I think our focus is just, let's have really good, solid fundamentals. Let's have a broad-based, diversified business where we don't rely too much on any one thing. For Hasbro, we have Magic the Gathering, which is a huge power brand for us. We have a huge licensing business that's heavily diversified, and we have a beloved toy business. And so I think by having that diversification, by having brands that have a variety of different target audiences, we're able to weather whatever the market or whatever policies are thrown at us. And I think that it underlies kind of the strength and bullishness of the raise that we had for this year and our midterm guide for 2027 and beyond.
You mentioned Magic, and we know that it keeps driving your growth, but do you think Hasbro is becoming too reliant on one power franchise?
Well, I think what you don't see maybe under the hood and an artifact of our reporting is just how big our licensing business is. Hasbro is the third biggest licenser in the entire entertainment industry, behind, I think, only Warner Brothers today. That's a big business for us that's very profitable. Sizing it, I'd say it's $700 to $750 million, generating operating profits in excess of 60%. So when you think about Magic, that's a big business for us. But when you think about that licensing business, that's also another very strong leg in our stool. And then when you couple with that with a very diversified toy business that goes across a whole bunch of different categories and a whole bunch of different audiences, I really think Hasbro's a multi-leg story, a multi-leg growth story, and a multi-leg profit story, with each of them starting to fire on all cylinders, like what you saw last quarter and you saw continue into this quarter.
Yeah, this quarter's revenue was very high, and your business has been extremely resilient to what's been going on in the broader economy. My question is around the consumer, and if you're seeing any slowdown in spending in any particular segments or anything that might impact future revenue.
I think if you would have asked me that a couple quarters ago, we would have said, yeah, we were seeing more of a K-shaped kind of recovery or K-shaped consumer behavior. But if anything, we're seeing broadening strength in the consumer. We're seeing it across price points. We're seeing it across demographics. We're seeing it across income groups. The toy industry as a whole is up over 3% through May. Hasbro is certainly benefiting from that, and it's very broad-based across multiple retailers, multiple genres, and multiple consumer types. So,
yeah, hey, Chris,
from our vantage point,
I just want to jump in.
Play, the consumer is strengthening.
I just want to jump in just because we have 45 seconds left. I know you know the GameStop business well. You partner with them. Again, just quickly here, any thoughts on Ryan Cohen's attempt to buy eBay?
No thoughts on GameStop's overall strategy. I'm glad that they're leaning into trading cards and collectibles. They're one of our fastest growing accounts. And so we're partnering with them closely on that.